All right. So I feel like I talk about this as much, but I got some questions on it, so I want to go through it. Let's talk a little bit about mother health, infant health, postpartum, that type of thing. So a lot of the problems that we get into, especially with children, when we look at them and they're 4, 5, 6 years old, and we don't understand why they're not as healthy as they're supposed to be, is because of a fallacy that we have that when the baby comes out and the baby has 10 fingers and 10 toes, that the baby's perfectly healthy. That is not anywhere close to accurate. Um, and we'll don't vaccinate your kids. Let's just stick with that one. We won't go over a whole bunch of vaccine stuff today, but we'll just go over the biochemistry of mom and baby. So what we look into, especially with like postpartum, I think postpartum is a great way to look at both mother and baby. A lot of postpartum comes from sheer exhaustion and nutrient deficiencies. And this is a big thing for the last, say, half of pregnancy that we kind of need to start getting more info on. So, one, a lot of the moms are eating terrible food. I mean, they're eating highly processed foods. They're eating foods that don't have enough saturated fat. Guys, saturated fat is so critically important to your body. It's funny because you look at eggs, you look at steak, you look at all these healthy animals. They're like, well, don't eat that because it has a lot of saturated fat. Well, if the giant meat machines that are walking around that we're eating to fill our giant meat machines have saturated fat, you might want to think about it. Saturated fat helps the lungs work, helps create the surfactant, helps make half the cells in your body, like all the cells in your body, about half of their cell wall or cell cytoplasm, not cell wall. So you've got that. The amount of fat that you need to bring in is pretty high. If you look at breast milk, healthy breast milk, it's mostly fat. So from a dietary standpoint, when we start looking at what these people are bringing in, you've got to be like, okay, we need to shift you over to zero processing. Because remember, processing foods increases inflammation, decreases gut functionality, decreases gut flora, decreases the process by which your gut makes everything. So you're like, we want to talk about depression. Let's talk about the lack of serotonin produced in the gut. Serotonin production is entirely a gut thing. So keeping the serotonin levels high is super important. So keeping the parasites out, keeping the yeast out, keeping the high quality foods coming in, really important. Now here's the other thing, and this is a big thing. This was a big thing for my wife 12 years ago when we started this process with our kids. Was she was super allergic to HCG, so she had hyperemesis from day one. But we kept a lot of nutrition into her. We kept a lot of supplementation into her, omega-3 fatty acids. We kept lots of methylated and functional B vitamins in her. We kept tons of supplementation in college and that whole thing, so our kids would be as healthy as they could be when they were born. So those are some of the things we've got to make sure that we're focusing on with mom when she's pregnant. We got to get lots of supplementation in, lots of clean foods, no processing. She needs lots of water and lots of sleep. We got to get some sleep because that's where everything kind of gets put back together. Typically, I'll also look at hormones during this time as well, because you want to make sure that everything's flowing like it's supposed to. Now, here's the other thing, and I'd like to think this is obvious, but when a woman is pregnant, all of the hormones are different. We obviously need more progesterone, estrogen levels need to be higher. During the pregnancy, HCG needs to be a lot higher. So making sure those things are where they're supposed to be and then manipulating them with nutrition is going to be your best bet. So let's fast forward into where like say mom has had baby, and let's talk specifically about postpartum. So a lot of postpartum is mineral deficiency, nutrient deficiency, and lack of sleep. So high supplementation with minerals, and I would do a wide variety of minerals, not just like, yes, magnesium, potassium are super important. Selenium's a big one, magnesium. There's a whole bunch of them. I like to make sure they get boron in. There's a whole bunch of different minerals that we like to make sure that they're getting in, but sodium and chloride are some of the big ones. And so restricting salt from women when they're postpartum is a really, really bad idea. The other thing we like to do is we do kidney castor packs. So in Eastern medicine, the kidney is the wellspring of life. Anxiety, depression, all those things live in the kidney. And so we want to make sure that that is taken care of so we can detox those things out properly. So we use a lot of kidney complex. I created something called CW4 that we use a lot for kidney function. But the kidney castor packs are probably one of the best. Making sure these women are getting enough water in, especially if they're breastfeeding, is a giant, giant part of this. So I usually tell these women, 80% of your body weight in water, I'm not in ounces. So if you're 150 pounds, we want to get, 120, 130 ounces of water in you, just to make sure that everything's flowing the way it's supposed to. I see dehydration as one of the things that we're having trouble producing breast milk from. And so that's one of those issues. We see that as part of a big piece of postpartum as well, is dehydration. Vitamin D3, which it always irritates me calling it a vitamin because it's not, it's a hormone, but regardless, getting your D3 levels up really high in that 80 to 120 range is gonna be really beneficial. Plus it comes to the breast milk, so you're actually feeding baby the D3 as well. Super important. Getting those up. We see that really tied to energy. We see it tied to mental function, all sorts of stuff, immunity. Definitely get those D3 levels up. Typically what I tell people is about 5,000 IUs per 100 pounds of body weight, spread them out morning and night. So let's say you're that 150 pound woman, or 160, and you're like, well, I'm kind of in the middle. I would tell you that erring on the side of a little bit more is better than not enough, because you're now taking it kind of for two people. I like to get it checked just to make sure that we're not getting a little bit too high, because now we're playing with babies, so the two functions are a little bit different. But up to you how you want to play that. All of the B vitamins, super duper important that you're getting all the B vitamins in. Your baby is taking, if you're breastfeeding, is taking this nutrients from you. And so you need to be as healthy as the mom, needs to be as healthy as possible to ensure that we're getting all of this stuff out. Now, back to this mom. If you're looking to get pregnant and you want to do the best thing for your baby, the very best thing you can do for your baby before you get pregnant is clean yourself out. Kill the parasites, kill the yeast, get all the heavy metals out. You always want to do heavy metals last, because you want to give yourself, clean your organs, make sure your body has a clean exit path out so that you can get all these things out, then start pulling in the heavy metals out. And yes, you need to bind them. So zeolites are good for that. There's a whole process we use for that at the end. And then rebuilding the body back up. If you are exercising, that is a massive, massive benefit, specifically core function, single leg step ups, bridges, planks, deep single style squats. These are going to help kind of reset all the musculature in the abdomen, so that you can make sure baby comes out nice and easily, and that you repair and heal afterwards. So one of the things that we see is that the women are not, and again, once things heal, I'm not saying have a baby and go home and start doing deep squats. Not what I'm saying. But once things start to heal, you can start moving around, but movement is really important. So, get up, move around, that type of thing. The big thing that I've been talking about for a long time, that is still a big, big deal when we talk about postpartum, we talk about maternal function, even baby stuff. Baby needs to be around mom, whether it's on her, which is the best, skin to skin contact is always gonna be the best, even for, first couple of weeks, months in. That's why breastfeeding is one of those great things to do. But we got to get mom some rest. Now, if you're part of a church group, if you're part of, if you have friends in the area, if you have family in the area, like, it is 100% the best thing for baby if mom gets rest. Mom's gonna get some sleep. Mom's gonna, let's try to get some naps in. She's got to rebuild her body. She's got to rest. She has to rest her mind. She's got to go out and do stuff. So guys, let her go do the grocery shopping if she wants to. Let her sit and read a book. She's got to have some downtime. She's got to have some time to just kind of decompress. This is a really, really, really big thing. I see this, the nutrient deficiency is a massive part, obviously, but the psychological piece of, I am now trapped as a prisoner to this child. And then they feeling bad about that. And it's a mind F that's really, really bad. So you've got to make sure that we're finding ways for mom to relax and calm down and stuff like that. The last thing you want to try to do is have this mom in charge of herself, baby, the house, other kids, husband, that type of thing. So guys, cook some food, have some friends use some food if that's what she's normally doing, if she's normally in charge of the food. Take that pressure off of her. Make sure that if she has an issue with clean, and a lot of women do. A lot of women feel anxious when things start to get cluttered. Not all of them, but some of them. So make sure that you're taking that into account. Help clean up, that type of thing. Get somebody to help clean up for a couple days, for 2-3 weeks, a month after pregnancy. Help get everything cleaned up and put away. What's happened is that think about this though. You imagine the damage if you haven't gone through this yet. And I highly recommend that guys, husband, if you can, even if you can't stomach it, stand in the room and watch what happens as the baby comes out of them. It's imagine the worst gym injury you've ever had, and then you're like expected to get up and do a whole lot of work you've never done before. We need to give a little bit more pampering and a little bit more time to our moms after they've given birth. So, we got to make sure that they're taken care of a little bit more. But those kidney castor packs are a big one. Making sure they're getting in high quality salts, making sure in electrolytes, making sure they're getting their water in, their D3. I would still push all this, what we do for the refill. So like the Superior Cellular Detox, the Superior Cellular Restore, those would both be great. Those are both loaded with a bunch of different stuff. The Superior Mineral, we use that one a lot. We use RFA a lot to keep everything where it's supposed to be. And then, those would be, the MCT, or like they're the butters, that type of stuff. Like just getting these high quality, clean, non-processed foods in is going to be a really, really big benefit to both mom and baby. So, especially if we can do that throughout the pregnancy. Those are going to be really, really big things. If you don't have somebody to walk you through this process, I would highly recommend that you reach out to the office so that we can help you walk through it, because this is one of those things that can make starting before you get pregnant could be one of the biggest health changes you make for your babies, period. Outside of choosing to vaccinate or not, because you can do all the right things and then inject highly inflammatory chemicals into them that causes all sorts of problems. But if we get everything cleaned up in mom and we go through, that's a big one. Now, yeah, the biochemical piece is giant and it's one of those things we got to work on. It's not super difficult. Like we've had people call up and we'll just ship them stuff. They take it and they're like, I feel great. Fantastic. One of the biggest things we have to recognize is that we talk about this a little bit, but I want to make sure that this is emphasized, especially for moms and especially for, postpartum and that type of thing. It's easy to look at the supplementation. It's easy to look at the diet. It's easy to look at that and be like, you got to bring these in. And people are like, well, it's obvious. The number one thing we've got to make sure that we focus on is the psychological component. Now, we've talked about this a little bit when I started talking about what stress really is. When I tell you that stress really is fear, sadness, and guilt. These are massive with women, especially when they start becoming tired and nutrient deprived. They just start spooling up. And so what is probably one of the more important things is that before they're pregnant, or at least during their pregnancy, or as soon as we can, we start teaching them how to unspool that mental place. We start teaching them how to shift away from the stress paradigm and more into the joy paradigm so that they can deal with this. So, think of all the research we have, and you can just go Google it. Just Google stress and longevity, stress and heart attack, stress and stroke, stress and whatever else symptom you want, stress and weight gain, stress and depression, and stress and anxiety. Like go Google all that stuff. We have tons of research on stress and these other things, stress creating or making these other things worse. So we've got to start to recognize that the emotional component of our bodies, of our minds, are directly linked. So we've got to start working on these mamas before they get pregnant, or as soon as we can, to start breaking that stress paradigm and start teaching them to shift themselves into what we call, you move from the victim of stress to the victor of the joy paradigm, where you now control a lot more of your emotional stability, a lot more of your mental function. And so all of a sudden we're filling ourselves with positive emotions and helping to push out as many negative emotions as we can, keeping ourselves positive, happy, fun, moving through. All of those chemicals, and I realize how obvious this is once I say it, all of those chemicals from anger, fear, hate, whatever, are all throughout the body, including in baby. And so if you see, like, this is one of those things that's really important to remember. If you see somebody who's happy, if you see somebody who's in love, if you see somebody who's angry, if you see someone who's, you can look at them and be like, that person's pissed off, or, oh, that person's in love. Like, you can just see it all over them, right? Like, okay, the fact that they have a hard time controlling the way their body function looks because of this emotion, even if they're trying to, like, someone, like, look at a guy who's trying not to cry. You can tell every single time that he's fighting back tears, right? No one has to be like, I don't know. He's like, well, you can tell. You can just tell. It's all throughout the body. And so, yes, it's in baby. And so those emotions are in baby and they're affecting baby the entire time. And you can start to see it later in life. So the psychological component of this is such a massive part of it. And if mom has issues and she's holding baby, that energy field is going to affect baby as well. Again, for people, like, I don't know about energy fields. Have you ever been in a library or something and someone's staring at you and you realize it? You turn around and look at them and they're like the electromagnetic field that you produce out of your body is easy. It is real. It's easy to test for. You just Google electromagnetic frequency from the human body. You'll see it. Kirlian Photography has taken pictures of it. Like, it is a real thing. Baby has one too. When they're together, they can either harmonize or they will harmonize. And so wherever her emotional state is going to be part of what's going on with baby. So keeping mom happy, healthy, and functional is highly important for the whole rest of the family, especially for babies. So when we're looking at maternal health, yeah, diet's a big thing. Movement or exercise, giant thing. Yes, not saying those are not gigantic pieces of this. So supplementation and exercise. Sleep, big one. Hydration, big one. We talk about these a lot. What we don't really talk enough about is the emotional state that the woman is in during the pregnancy and then right afterwards, ensuring that she stays positive and happy and functional for baby and for herself and for the rest of the family is a big, big deal. And you can make a lot of the postpartum better with supplementation, with diet, and I think you should, because the metabolic path is really, really big on this one. But if you don't start recognizing the psychological piece, I would tell you that you're missing a giant part of what you need to keep mama and baby healthy. So if you guys have any questions, hit us up, pillarsofwellness.com or questions@chalmerswellness.com. But I would 100% tell you that one of the best things, grandparents, one of the best things you can do investment-wise is to invest in keeping your daughters or your soon-to-be daughter-in-laws as healthy as they possibly can be before they get into the pregnancy. That will save you giant amounts of money in the future, and it will make your babies a lot healthier going through. So, we have a lot of toxic chemicals in our food, water, and air. You got to move out. You got a lot of nutrients you got to move in. It's not going to happen by hopes, dreams, or accident. So, you guys good at that? If you guys have any questions, hit us up. Otherwise, thanks for your time.